Welcome to the deep dive. We take stacks of info articles, research notes, and boil it down for you.
Yep. Distill it to the key insights.
Our mission, a shortcut to being truly well-informed. We'll throw in some surprising facts, maybe a little humor.
Enough to keep you hooked, Terry.
Definitely.
So today we're diving deep into the big global and U.S. news stories from one specific day, July 11th, 2025.
Just one day.
Just one day. But it's fascinating. You'll see how these events, they seem separate, but they connect. They show these bigger trends, challenges shaping our world.
Okay, I'm intrigued. We've got a lot to unpack then. Global trade shifts, urgent humanitarian crises.
Environmental challenges, big ones.
Right, and even, I saw this, a dramatic finish at the Tour de France.
Oh, yeah, that too.
So settle in, everyone, because we're about to explore what made July 11, 2025, well, pretty remarkable.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's kick things off with global trade. It sounds like July 11th saw some significant moves on tariffs from President Trump. What happened?
Yeah, it was definitely an escalation. Protectionist policies front and center. For Canada, President Trump announced plans for a 35% tariff on Canadian imports.
35%? Wow.
Big number, starting August 1st. And specifically targeting goods not already covered by USMCA.
Okay, the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement.
Exactly. This comes after, well, a noticeable downturn in U.S.-Canada trade relations, lots of debate over border security, economic fairness, that sort of thing.
And it wasn't just Canada.
No. He also threatened more tariffs, maybe 15, 20%, aimed at others, including the EU.
Okay, so how did the markets take all this news?
With anxiety, predictably. The Canadian dollar, it hit a 2-week low. U.S. futures dipped. Energy stocks definitely felt the pressure.
Interesting. Any other market moves?
Well, yeah, Bitcoin actually surged, jumped to around $118,000.
Really? Why?
It often reflects that kind of market volatility, people looking for alternatives when things feel unstable.
Right. And Canada's response?
They signaled pretty quickly they were ready to retaliate. And analysts, they're warning this could seriously fracture USMCA.
Which would mean?
Global trade slowdowns, more tension, even within NATO allies. Meanwhile, the EU is anxiously waiting for a formal letter from Trump about these tariffs.
Weren't they already dealing with tariffs from before?
Yes, they'd paused their own $21 billion retaliation plan from some unilateral tariffs 3 years back. So they're waiting to see what happens now.
And you mentioned Brazil was also in the crosshairs, not just Canada and the EU.
No, Brazil too. President Trump announced a plan for a massive 50% tariff on most imports from Brazil.
50%. What was the reason given for that?
It was explicitly tied to politics, the trial of former President Jair Bolsonaro, and also some Brazilian Supreme Court decisions that affected U.S.-based social media platforms.
That definitely sounds like using economic tools for political leverage more than just trade policy.
Exactly. It's a growing trend. You see it more and more, economic policy as a foreign policy weapon.
How did Brazil react?
President Lula responded forcefully, rejected it as U.S. interference in Brazil's internal affairs, vowed to defend their sovereignty.
And threatened retaliation.
You bet. Warned of retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods. Analysts think this could even backfire on the U.S. Maybe strengthen Lula domestically, push Brazil to find new trade partners.
Interesting. So connecting these trade disputes, how does it link to bigger economic strategies like independence?
Well, what's fascinating is on the same day, July 11th, the U.S. actually inaugurated its first new rare earth mine in Wyoming in like 7 decades.
Wow. Okay. That's significant.
Hugely significant. It's not just about mining. It's a strategic play. Reduce reliance on foreign sources, particularly China, which dominates that market.
And boost domestic manufacturing.
Precisely. Support U.S. goals for electric vehicles, clean energy. It's about fundamentally reshaping those critical mineral supply chains. A long-term move.
Right, a long game. But what about the immediate economic health? Any signs there?
Yeah, there were some worrying signs from Germany's industrial sector, too. Covestro, a big chemical firm there.
I know them.
They cut their full-year profit forecast, the EBITDA forecast again, now expecting much lower figures.
EBITDA being earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization.
Right, a key profitability measure. So this signals weaker global manufacturing demand. It could weigh on German output, investor confidence.
And shows how vulnerable that sector is.
Especially the EU chemical sector, yeah. Vulnerable to tariffs, slow overseas markets. It all ties together.
And it wasn't just economics. There were diplomatic strains in Europe, too.
Definitely.
Yep.
Russia ordered Poland to close its consulate in Kaliningrad.
Tit for tat.
Exactly. Following Poland's earlier actions against Russian diplomats and properties. It just shows that ongoing friction in Europe.
Even while other things are happening.
Yeah, even as the EU Commission itself is facing internal issues like backlash over a UK-France migrant deal, concerns about potential sanctions on Israel, rising anti-Semitism in Eastern Europe. It's a complex picture.
Okay, so we've seen the economic and diplomatic chessboard. Let's pivot now to stories that hit closer to home, often tragically. The humanitarian crises, human rights challenges from July 11th.
Yeah, this is tough stuff. We really have to start with the floods in Texas, Central Texas.
Those were devastating, weren't they?
Unprecedented flash floods, July 4th to 7th. The Guadalupe River surged 26 feet in less than an hour.
26 feet, unbelievable.
By July 11th, the toll was grim. 121 confirmed deaths, over 160 people still missing.
Oh my God.
It prompted a massive response. Federal, state, volunteers. President Trump visited the area.
Was the response smooth? Any concerns?
There was criticism, yeah, about a delayed FEMA response. Some opposition figures blamed policy bottlenecks under Governor Noem.
But communities pulled together.
Absolutely. Facing huge recovery challenges. And Mexican rescue crews like Topos Azteca, they were widely praised for their solidarity, their help.
And it raises bigger questions.
For sure. Environmental planners are saying this underlines the urgent need for better infrastructure, better climate adaptation, especially in vulnerable spots.
Okay, another really critical humanitarian situation unfolding that day was in Gaza. What happened there?
Yeah, this one raises just profound questions about protecting civilians in conflict. On July 11th, the UN reported nearly 800 Palestinians killed by Israeli fire.
800. How?
While waiting at aid distribution sites.
Waiting for aid.
Yes. And another 16 Palestinians, including 8 children, were killed waiting for nutritional supplements.
This is horrifying. What was the context?
It happened amid intensified conflict, an 11-week Israeli blockade, and severely limited aid entry points. Israeli authorities had restricted operations to just one site in Rafah.
The international reaction must have been strong.
Widespread condemnation from humanitarian groups, calling the situation inhumane. You have over 2 million people crammed into less than 15% of Gaza's territory.
So, intensifying calls for a ceasefire.
Definitely. And raising serious questions about international intervention, civilian protection. Perspectives differed sharply, of course.
How so?
Israeli officials defended their actions as necessary security measures. Critics accused them of collective punishment. Some even used the term genocide. Very charged.
And then from Marine One, a really disturbing human rights allegation surfaced on the same day.
Indeed. A human rights lawyer in Iran made a claim about the bombing of Evin prison back on June 23rd.
What was the claim?
That approximately 100 transgender prisoners died in that bombing, which reportedly hit the prison's hospital ward too.
And Israel's position.
They deny targeting civilians, but confirm their operations did affect parts of the prison.
What are activists saying?
Calling it a grave human rights violation, demanding global investigations. Tehran warned of legal and diplomatic responses. It just underscores the vulnerability of minority groups in wartime.
Shifting to the U.S. itself, what was happening on human rights and immigration on July 11th?
2 key things. First, a federal judge blocked President Trump's executive order that tried to revoke birthright citizenship.
Okay, allowing a lawsuit to proceed.
Exactly, a class action suit. Civil rights groups hailed it as a defense of the Constitution, specifically the 14th Amendment. Supporters of the order were obviously frustrated.
And the second thing?
At the same time, the administration moved to ban undocumented children from receiving Head Start support.
Head Start, the early education program.
That's the one. Provides vital early education, health, nutrition services. The National Head Start Association strongly criticized the move, saying it deepens inequity for vulnerable kids.
We also saw news about U.S. aid cuts having an impact, specifically in Somalia.
Yeah, reports show the U.S. cut aid to Somalia even while conducting its 49th airstrike there since Trump returned to office.
49th airstrike while cutting aid.
That's the report.
Yeah.
Local health officials warned about vaccine shortages, malnutrition worsening. Humanitarian groups called it a heartless contradiction, military action alongside aid shortfalls.
Highlights that tension between security and humanitarian needs.
Absolutely. And another tough situation for migrants emerged in Europe, too.
Where was this?
Greece. They announced a 3-month halt to processing asylum applications from North African arrivals,
Just stopped processing. What
Yeah.
happens to them?
imposing immediate jail or expulsion for those arriving by sea.
That sounds legally questionable.
The International Rescue Committee called it illegal and inhumane, said it violates European asylum law, endangers vulnerable people, legal challenges are almost certain.
Okay. And finally, on the humanitarian front, the situation in Haiti, still dire.
Absolutely dire. The UN reported over 90% of Port-au-Prince, the capital, was controlled by violent gangs.
90%.
Yeah. Ongoing gang war means widespread violence, people forced from their homes, even historic sites like the Hotel Olafsen destroyed. The government's struggling. International calls for urgent intervention continue.
Just a devastating picture across multiple regions. Okay, as we've just heard, human actions have consequences, but nature itself was also delivering powerful blows on July 11th. Let's talk environment.
Yeah, the environmental headlines were stark, especially from Europe. Record-breaking heat since late June,
How hot are we talking?
exceeding 46 degrees Celsius, that's 115 Fahrenheit, in parts of Portugal and Spain. Heat-related deaths estimated in the thousands.
Thousands, wow.
And on July 11th, the UK declared its third major heat wave of the summer. Temperatures around 34.7 C, nearly 95 F.
Leading to practical impacts.
Widespread hosepipe bans, affecting over 5 million customers from major water companies like Yorkshire, Southeast, and Thames Water. Plus, elevated wildfire risk in Germany and Greece.
What's the long-term view on this kind of heat?
Well, experts are clear. These frequent, intense heat waves are driven by climate change. They pose serious long-term risks: health, farming, infrastructure.
So bans and advisories are just...
Short-term fixes. Environmental advocates are pushing hard for governments to invest seriously in heat resilience, climate mitigation. We need bigger solutions.
And it wasn't just Europe feeling the heat, right? Canada was battling intense conditions too.
Absolutely. Wildfires across Western Canada, especially Manitoba and Saskatchewan, just kept escalating.
Forcing evacuation.
Mass evacuations.
Yeah.
Tens of thousands forced to flee. It's fueled by these unusually hot, dry conditions linked to climate change. 2025 was already shaping up to be one of Canada's worst wildfire seasons ever.
And the smoke travels, doesn't it?
Hugely affected air quality across Canada, down into the northern U.S. widespread health warnings. Towns like Flin Flon, Denair Beach suffered major damage, some destroyed. The economic fallout will be huge.
Okay, so fires on Earth. And then, shifting focus dramatically, there was also news about space on July 11th. An asteroid flyby.
Yeah, quite the contrast. Asteroid 2005 VO5 made a relatively close pass by Earth.
How big was it?
Pretty big, about 1,200 feet in diameter. Think like a football stadium.
Close pass. But was it a threat?
NASA confirmed no immediate threat. ISRO, India's space agency, also helped track it. So we were safe this time.
But it's a reminder.
Definitely. Highlights the unpredictable nature of these near-Earth objects, underscores why we need continued vigilance, investment in planetary defense, things like deflection tech, and global cooperation in tracking space threats. Our cosmic neighborhood is dynamic.
Okay, moving beyond the environment then. July 11th also saw ongoing regional conflicts and some other really diverse global developments. Where were the flashpoints in the Middle East?
Tensions stayed really high. Israel launched airstrikes in Yemen.
Against whom?
Houthi-controlled ports and power facilities. This was in response to repeated missile and drone attacks from the Houthis, including one on a Liberian-flagged ship recently.
So trying to disrupt their capabilities.
That was the aim, deter attacks on shipping. But the Houthis fired back with missiles toward Israel, so it just heightened regional tensions, risks to trade routes.
And the Israeli-Lebanese border was also hot.
Very active. Israel conducted drone strikes in southern Lebanon, targeting areas they believed Hezbollah militants were using.
Following attacks on Israel.
Yeah, after rocket attacks hit northern Israel, killing at least one person, injuring others. Lebanese officials condemned the strikes, called them violations of sovereignty. Still very volatile, risk of wider conflict is there.
Okay, what about the civil war in Somalia? Any major developments?
Yes, the jihadist group Al-Shabaab launched what's called the Shabelle Offensive, really intensifying the civil war.
When did this start?
The offensive began back in February 2025, but it saw heavy fighting in July. Across several regions, Middle Shabelle, Lower Shabelle, Hiran, their aim seems to be encircling Mogadishu, the capital.
Is anyone intervening?
Both the U.S. and Ethiopia have conducted airstrikes against al-Shabaab during this campaign. But thousands of civilians have been displaced. Fears of a large-scale humanitarian crisis are growing.
Right. On a more positive note, potentially there was news out of Turkey about peace.
Yeah, PBS NewsHour reported that a Kurdish insurgent faction in Turkey had actually begun disarming after years of really brutal fighting.
That sounds significant.
Experts see it as a potential breakthrough. Could reduce violence, open doors for political solutions. But critics warn, enforcement, monitoring, those are big challenges.
Always the challenge. And then, tragically, the war in Ukraine saw a major escalation on July 11th.
It did. Russia launched the largest single drone attack of the entire war.
Largest ever. How many drones?
728. Jiran-2 drones launched overnight against Ukrainian targets.
Yeah, Sharon too. Those are the Iranian-designed ones.
Essentially, yeah. Russian-built suicide drones, known for being cheap and used in swarms. This huge attack hit infrastructure, civilian areas, at least 10 civilians killed, dozens injured.
Ukraine's response.
Condemned them as war crimes. Renewed calls for more international support, especially urging the resumption of Western arms shipments, urgently.
Okay, beyond conflicts, there were also big business and tech stories making waves.
Definitely. Australia's Qantas airline got hit by a major cyber attack.
Oh, wow. What was compromised?
Personal data of up to 6 million customers. It targeted a third-party platform their call center uses.
6 million, that's huge.
It really highlights the growing worries about cybersecurity, not just in aviation, but across supply chains. Very concerned.
Again in Germany, more auto industry news.
Yeah. Daimler Truck, a huge manufacturer there, announced plans to cut about 5,000 jobs by 2030.
5,000 jobs? Why?
Part of a $1 billion saving effort. It reflects the struggles in the German auto industry, global economic headwinds, plus that massive shift towards electric vehicles. Big transition pressures.
You also saw political shifts in Asia, South Korea.
Right. South Korea's National Assembly confirmed Kim Min-suk as the new prime minister.
This followed some instability.
Yeah, quite a bit. A failed martial law declaration, ongoing economic problems. Kim pledged to heal the wounds of insurrection, guide the country through what he called its second IMF crisis. Sounds like a tough road ahead.
And a tragic industrial accident in India.
Yes, sadly. A fire and explosion at a fireworks factory in Tamil Nadu.
Fatalities.
Killed 10 people, injured several more. Happened while workers were prepping for upcoming festivals. It just tragically highlighted ongoing safety issues in India's fireworks industry, which has a history of these awful accidents.
Right. Okay, finally, let's end on something different. Pure sports drama. Tour de France.
Exactly. Stage 7 on July 11th delivered big time. Tadej Pogačar.
Big name in cycling.
Huge. He launched this decisive attack on the final climb, the famous Mur de Bretagne. He won the stage and spectacularly reclaimed the yellow jersey, the leader's jersey. Beat his main rivals, Vingegaard and even
Really other drama.
Yeah, Joan Almeida crashed, broke a rib, but is somehow staying in the race. Still in contention.
Incredible toughness.
Absolutely. Cycling pundits were raving about Pogačar's strategy, his resilience. It totally reshaped the race heading into the big mountain stages. Kept it really exciting.
Wow. Okay, what a deep dive that was into just one day, July 11, 2025.
Yeah.
From those complex global trade wars, the grim realities of humanitarian crises, to the immediate impacts of climate change we're seeing.
Right, and even the thrill of the tour. It really shows how interconnected everything is, doesn't it? A complex tapestry.
That's really the power of looking at a single day like this through all these different lenses. Every story, whether it's a policy change or a natural disaster, it ripples out.
Affects lives across borders in ways you might not immediately guess.
Exactly. This kind of deep dive shows you just how much is happening, how fast things move, and you start to see patterns you might otherwise miss.
So what's the takeaway for you listening? Maybe it's a reminder that even with this constant flood of information, taking time to understand the nuances, the connections, it can really transform how you see the news, how you understand the world.
And maybe this raises an important question for all of us to think about. In this era of, well, increasing global volatility, everything's so interconnected, how can we as individuals best equip ourselves, not just to react, but to truly understand and adapt to these rapid changes, geopolitical, economic, environmental? That is a great question to mull over. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions.
And stay informed.